no problem will come on.
Yes. If you have
No. Journalist.
The time is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the program Disability Inclusion. Well, it's a delight to know that you are with us on the program Disability Inclusion, coming to you live from the network service of Radio Nigeria. Well, in case you do not know, my name is Jennifer Obo, your host on today's program. And for our first time listener, or even viewer, if you're watching us live on our social media handles, the program Disability Inclusion is a program where we get to talk about everything that concerns persons with disabilities. We talk about their challenges, we talk about the opportunity that they have, and we talk about solutions we can provide to promote disability inclusion in our society. And on today's program, our focus is towards a person with disability inclusive election. Yes, we all know that this is the season of election, ringing the bells. We are all prepping for 2023. So we are taking a look at the role of the Nigerian journalist, and the role of the Nigerian journalist cannot be overemphasized. So the topic for today is towards a person with disability inclusive election, the role of Nigerian journalists. And our guest is Comrade Chris Isiguzo, the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ. Now, the role of journalists in information dissemination, education, and public enlightenment cannot be overemphasized. As the mirror of the society, journalists have a great role to play in upgrading the image of persons with disabilities and changing societal notions against them. Now, media reportage and programs free from any form of discrimination, unnecessary sympathy, violation of rights, or violation of rights of persons with special needs could lead to the establishment of an accessible environment with equal opportunities that could allow persons with special needs to participate in education, employment, and other important aspects of human life. And when we talk about persons with special needs, we're also talking about persons with disability. Now, the media organizations and professionals could help persons with disabilities improve their self esteem, self confidence, self dignity, communication, leadership, and public presentation skills, as well as achieve independent living during and beyond the election season. Well, this is our focus for today, like I told you earlier. And once again, the topic is towards a person with disability inclusive election, the role of Nigerian journalists. And welcoming our guest is my very own boss, the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists, Comrade Chris Isiguzo. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us today.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
All right, so this conversation will not just be left for the guests and I alone. You are also encouraged to join in. All you need to do is to watch us live on our Facebook page is at the Albino Foundation, on Instagram and Twitter is at TAF_NIG. Or in case you're trying to call us or unable to reach us, just send a WhatsApp message to 0908 875 7496. I take that number again, 0908 875 7496. So it's important for you to start, sending in your messages, questions, or contribution whatsoever. Just type it and send on WhatsApp. We'll read it out. Or if you're watching us, you can just leave a comment or wait till we announce the phone number, then we take your phone call. So let's just move straight to the focus for today. Comrade Isiguzo, good to have you once again. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us. All right, so what are the roles of the Nigerian journalists in amplifying disability inclusion in Nigeria?
Again, thanks for having me. It's good to be back here after a while,
Mm,
and you guys are doing well.
thank you.
When you talk about the role of the media has got what we call the trilogy functions of the media. And when you look at the media in general, whatever we do, our responsibilities, activities, and what have you, they revolve around these trilogy functions. The function of informing, getting the people informed of the goings on in the system, just to inform them. The assignment or the role of educating them. That means you now educate, you inculcate certain level of values in the people. Now you have the role of entertaining them. Most times we seem to play down on this particular aspect of our functions, but it's very, very important. That's why in most radio stations, you go to print media, you see entertainment corners. You understand? Where they douse tension. You reduce, when the situation is at the feverish pitch, and the entertainment part of you would be required to douse the tension, remove fear from the people, and what have you. So, coming to the issue we are talking about, what role has the media got to play?
Yeah.
The media has got to play the role of educating them. Persons living with disabilities. I guess that's what we're talking about.
Persons with disabilities,
Oh,
yes.
okay, persons with disabilities.
Yes.
We've got to educate them. You don't need to, because they live with or they are with some form of disabilities. You now feel that they are the reject of the society. They are not. They have the same right as every other person. They can aspire to be president of Nigeria. They can aspire to be governor of any state. They can aspire to be lawmakers at the National Assembly or at the State Assembly. So the same right they have to aspire to offices, it means that they also have right to decide who leads them. That means they have that right to exercise their franchise. And it behoves the journalists, the media, to ensure that you provide all the necessary platforms that would help them freely express themselves. Because oftentimes they may not enjoy that platform. So the media must provide platform for them to freely express themselves. At every point in time when certain decisions are taken against them or are skewed against them, it is the media that must ensure that the relevant authorities are brought to bear to understand that these people are also part and parcel of the society. We've had governors that were with disabilities. We've had them. In fact, successively, Imo had 2 governors. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's not because they now became governor that we will no longer appreciate the fact that they were with disabilities, one way or the other. But they were able to get to, so to speak, pinnacle of their political career. So they were not stopped. So why should we stop others? By our activities, by our actions or inactions? We should not. So we must provide the level playing field, so to speak. The same ones we provide for those that are without any form of disabilities. We should equally provide same to those with disabilities. When the media begins to discharge this onerous role, it simply means we are living through.
Now, I think the question now is that, do they know? Because I can't give what I don't have. The media is seen as the fourth estate of the realm. They are very prominent in the society. They are very influential. It's like society go by what they hear, what they see, which is the media, radio, television, and other forms of media. Now, what is the role of it? You mentioned education now as one of their vital role, that they play in their job or as professionals. How can they educate the public, the society about disability and disability inclusion? Who is a person with disability? They shouldn't be seen as an object of ridicule. Basically, how can a journalist change that image or that perception that the public have about a person?
The first question you asked, while trying to amplify this particular question,
Yes.
was that, do they know?
Yeah.
That was your question. Do
Of
they
course,
know?
yes.
And that's why I said, for those that don't know,
Mhm.
it is the media that must let them know. We must make them to know. And that's why I talked about the aspect of information. Because if you deny the people of the necessary information, the populace, the public, the listening audience, the reading public, they don't have the information. They are practically disinformed, so to speak. They are not properly informed. So that's why it's important that what you are doing today is the media, reaching out to the people, explaining things to them. That these people, and today we even have a law in place that substantially gives them protection. You understand? The what is it called? The act.
Disability Act.
They are good. The Disability Inclusive or Inclusion Act, or just Disability Act. Yes, there is a law in place, and people championed it, including the media, to ensure that the National Assembly considers it imperative and not to treat it with levity. It's a law in place now. So all we need to do is to begin to tell those in authority, tell the people that there is a law in place that protects these people. And anybody, it is said that ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Yeah.
So if by our actions or inactions, we undermine the provisions of this law, the law, of course, will be allowed to take its full course on such a person.
Yeah.
So for us in the media, we are very much ready to work very closely with organizations that champion or that protect or that work closely with persons with disabilities. You understand? Of course, we have the Albino Foundation that is doing wonderfully well. You understand? We are working very closely with them. We also have other organizations here and there. The other time there was a workshop in fact across the country. I attended one in Port Harcourt, and it was to prepare them ahead of the 2023 elections. And I was there. So many other people were there. And most times they may not really understand that they will feel like we don't belong. You understand? So we must be there as the media to protect them and tell them that you are not, like I said from the outset, the reject of the society. You are part and parcel of the society. If we're talking about 200 million or more Nigerians living in Nigeria, you form an appreciable percentage of that 200 million. Remove you from the figure, we are no longer 200 million. You understand? So they are part of what makes us, Nigeria, the most populous black nation in Africa and by extension the world.
All right, join in the conversation by sending in your WhatsApp messages to 0908-875-7496. We'll be moving over to our news segment, but the number to send a WhatsApp message to is 0908-875-7498, or you can watch us live on Facebook at the Albino Foundation, on Twitter and Instagram at TAF_NIG. My name is still Jennifer Ogo. On the program Disability Inclusion. Stay with us for our news updates.
Nigeria joined the rest of the world on November 20 to commemorate this year's World Children's Day. The theme of this year's commemoration is inclusion for every child. According to a new UNICEF report published ahead of World Children's Day, discrimination against children based on ethnicity, language, and religion is rising in countries worldwide. The report titled Right to Life restricted from exercising and claiming their civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. UNICEF has called on government, international partners, the private sector, and communities around the world to stand up for children everywhere and commit to building a world free from discrimination for every child. In a statement to mark World Children's Day, it said among the new findings, the report showed that children from marginalized ethnic, language, and religious groups in an analysis of 22 countries lag far behind their peers in reading skills. The statement said Nigeria has 18.3 million children who are not in school and a high number of children attending schools while not getting a solid education that can translate into good prospects for their future. Dr. Chukwuemeka Joseph Chukwu, Resident Electoral Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Edo State, has said that the 2023 general elections will be free, fair, and inclusive because adequate provision has been made for every eligible voter, irrespective of the disability status. During the Able to Vote Southeast campaign organized by the Albino Foundation in Enugu State, funded by the European Union in Nigeria, he announced that Enugu State has 260 registration areas and 4,145 polling units. The display of the preliminary register of voter for scrutiny, claims, and objections registration areas in the 17 government areas of the state. The public relations officer of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Enugu Command, Denny Manuel Wochu, assured participants that strategic plans have been made to position security officials on election day to ensure that the citizenry exercises their civic rights without fear. During the panel session, the national coordinator of the Human Rights Volunteer Group of Nigeria, Mr. Larry Owen, noted that anything that discourages persons with disabilities from voting eventually makes them feel guilty of acting, and therefore regulated that the physically challenged should be allowed to drive to the polling unit with their aids. Participants appealed to INEC to provide sign language interpreters at all the polling units for the hard-in-hearing to enable them to vote seamlessly. Mrs. Benny Onyus Okojufor, head of Disability Unit, Gender and Inclusivity Department, INEC headquarters, pleaded with the disability community to organize themselves together with sign language interpreters, adding that the Commission is willing to train them in any capacity in preparation for the upcoming general elections. A disability rights activist, Chiamaka Ohaliti, exhorted participants to desist from asking for arms. Instead, they should use their voices to demand accountability, register in political parties, and contest for elective positions.
Inclusive society for all persons with disability must be mainstream in all spheres of our society. I am Jane Belly, Chief Executive Officer and Founder of the Albino Foundation, and I am from this
And we are still live on the program Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria as we discuss persons with disability inclusive election, the role of Nigerian journalists. And we are joined by Comrade Chris Isiguzo, the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. So you can start placing your calls. Call the numbers 0705 149 3324 or 0915 091 0482, 0705 149 3324 or 0915 091 0482. Do you think the journalists in Nigeria are doing enough towards disability inclusion. What do you think they should do more? What areas do you think they should focus in terms of including persons with disabilities in all spheres of our society? Now, let's move over to our guests. Mr. Isikuzo, in your assessment, what level of prominence is given to the stories on persons with disabilities by media organizations in Nigeria?
Well, I'm not going to begin to allocate percentage
Okay.
and all that, but I know that I don't think they have been given the adequate prominence, media visibility.
Okay.
You know, I don't think they enjoy as much as they ought to. You know, but we don't have a perfect system yet, but we work towards that. What you're doing is very well encouraged. It's just to improve on it. You know, this kind of program, we can also have this conversation outside the broadcast media. You know, the social media spaces.
Yes.
Twitter
I was actually going to
spaces.
talk about that.
Well, apparently, the organizations, the promotion of activities around persons with disabilities.
Okay.
Because you don't just sit somewhere and they assume. You don't live on assumptions. So you must have to also engage the media.
Okay.
You know, because when you engage them to appreciate your activities, what you're doing, you know, and they don't just assume that they should know. No,
Okay.
you've got to, no matter how beautiful your wares, you could look at the location of your shop,
Okay.
and that will bring people to that place. You get me?
Yeah.
So some of these organizations should equally engage media professionals, get journalists involved. You have activities, bring them so that they will be able to also give visibility to what you're doing. Because if you just say it amongst yourselves there, nobody hears it. It dies there. You understand? When we talk about radio and television, you know what it means. As you say, it is going.
Yeah.
You know, the next 5-10 minutes, somebody may not remember. So also engage those in the print so that it remains. People keep engaging them. You understand? So
Yes.
it's important that these organizations also engage journalists, involve them in their activities. And I can tell you that we'll continue to improve.
And something actually just crossed in my mind. Do you think if we have maybe a certain percentage of journalists now in Nigeria, maybe like 30% or 40% of them be made up of persons with disabilities, do you think it will go a long way in promoting inclusivity?
Well, it's not something that you begin to allocate professional professions to anybody. You understand?
Okay.
It is people. It's your right. You decide what you want. If somebody, we also have journalists that are living with, that are with disabilities.
Okay.
We have so many of them. You understand? The other time there was an event involving an award she had, I think during their 30th anniversary. When I came to the event, a journalist that works with NTA in Sokoto, she was there. And, they even gave her an award. So when I saw that, I had to encourage her. You understand? I know I made donation just to encourage her, to make her feel you are part and parcel of what you're doing. You know, she's somebody that is with disability. You understand? We have so many other people. We have a journalist in Kogi that quite recently launched a book he wrote, and I was there to honor him in Lokoja. I got some copies of the book. You understand? So we have been encouraging them. So it's not like among journalists there's nobody with any form of disability. You understand? So we have so many of them. We work with some. We have many of them. I don't need to begin to
That's impressive.
specify.
0705-149-3324 or 0915-091-0482. We're talking about the role of journalists in promoting disability inclusion, especially as it concerns, election, inclusive election. Do you think journalists are doing enough to include persons with disability, especially in our electoral space? in terms of voting exercise and all the information that we are supposed to disseminate. Do you think we're doing a good job in doing that? 0915 or send a WhatsApp message to 0908 We have our guest, the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Comrade Chris Isiguzo. He's our guest for today's program. In case you are unable to reach us, I keep reiterating that you should just link up to our social media page. On Facebook, we are streaming at the Albino Foundation, on Instagram and Twitter, attack_1. So you can send in your comments and we'll read it live. All right, stay with us. We go on a quick music break. When we come back, we hope to entertain your comments, calls, and contributions. To stay with us.
Is it 30 minutes or 1 hour? I thought I
You
was
didn't tell
done.
him.
Oh, 1 hour.
You still have a lot to talk about.
Puerto Rico. I thought it was just a 30 minutes program.
It was a 30 minutes program. I think we started this on our program. It's not had up to like 10 editions.
But somebody was still here. He's also part of the program.
Sorry?
Kuban.
Yes.
After this one, play Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
Kelly Clarkson.
What
Kelly Clarkson. What doesn't kill you
makes you
makes
stronger?
you stronger. No, that song, I've listened to it. Doesn't have any.
I'll pull up the other song because it takes time to look for it.
That's wrong.
Yes.
He's having issues.
I don't know because I'm not coming in. I called the engineer, he's coming back to
Okay.
work on it. But check, you can harvest information from WhatsApp
No,
and
not
text.
And on Twitter.
I think the Christian. I think the Christian. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Any journalist journalist.
Remember, I talked to everybody.
No ordinary children going off to war. Cause no single leader
See ya.
worth dying for. No ordinary
All right, we are live on the program Disability Inclusion. Each time I hear this song, I just tap my feet and nod my head because every word of it is definitely true. And I sincerely appreciate the fact that it's coming from Kuban Sukwo, who is a visually impaired person, and he's one of the greatest producers, music producers we have here in Africa. I sincerely appreciate him. I want to use him now to encourage any person with disability, go for what you believe in and you become an extraordinary person. Equity, equality is what we preach on the program Disability Inclusion. Like our guest said earlier in the program, Nigeria is made up of about 200 million people, and these people include persons with disabilities. So if we should take them out, we are not even up to 200 million. It means that everything that you enjoy also goes to a person with disability. They also, deserve that right. They have that right. The program is still disability inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We're talking about the role of journalists in promoting an inclusive election. The numbers to call is 0705 1493324 or 0915 The WhatsApp number is 0908 So, Comrade Siguzo, I actually want to talk a little bit about the entertainment industry. Like you said at the beginning of the program, that entertaining or entertainment is one of the pivotal role, a media person has to play in the society. How do we use the entertainment industry, or how can we rather use the entertainment industry to pass across the message of disability inclusion?
Well, you just played the tune,
Yeah,
from
Cubans and
Obams Asupo, and it's, like you said, a visually impaired person, and who is doing excellently well across the world.
yeah,
There has been no place he appeared that the world did not stand up to receive him. He was not discouraged by his impairments. It has not made him to say no and give up on life. No, but he has been able to develop himself so much so that today every one of us will like listening, to his tunes. You understand?
yeah,
And that's a very good one. It's good that you are also using this platform to project and promote his music, and which is very wonderful. You understand? So that is one of the things that we must continue to do. You don't begin to, play somebody down or play up somebody's weaknesses and all that because the person lives with disability, and all that. No, we must give people equal opportunities to thrive. Whatever gift that God has given you, the fact that you live with a particular disability or the other should not be a source of discouragement
all right.
for you. It should rather motivate you.
Any who that thought I will have a phone call. Hello, good evening. Go ahead and speak up. Hello. Thank you so much, Shegun. How have you been? It's been so long. We've not heard from you in a while. Did you travel? Of course, go ahead. Go ahead. Welcome, Shegun. Of course. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Across the nation. And in they actually is a synonymous word. They are actually closely related to impairment. Hello. Yes. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Please move away from your radio set. You are trying to listen to yourself, and it's not making you, talk fluently. Yes. Round up what you're saying. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, across the nation. Please, I think I don't know if it's that what do you call it again? Amnesia, the act of forgetfulness. I don't know. Well, he was trying to ask, sir, the difference between disability, impairment,
I don't think amnesia is a form of disability, is it?
it's not a form, it's actually a health
It's a health
issue.
challenge.
Yes,
It's a health issue
challenge.
on
So
its
it's not
own.
a
It's not.
disability.
It's
Yes.
not disability because he was also talking about are they closely related? The issue of disability and impairment. Yes, impairment is a form of disability. It's another word actually for that, you
Yes.
know. But when you are talking about health challenge, it is not the same thing as
A disability.
disability.
Okay, sorry, so I have another caller. Hello, good evening. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, comrade. We sincerely appreciate you. Mm. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. 0915 or 0751493324. Send a WhatsApp message to 0908 57498. So we actually have from our live from our stream on Facebook, from our live stream on Facebook, and this one is from Isaac Egbadu, MC Funkiest. All right, thanks for watching us. And he's saying, good evening, presenter and comrade, sir. Watching you live from Kaduna State. I love your views, sir. If only the bills passed on people with disabilities are duly implemented, then it will be a job well done. Me speaking, I have OND, Cooperative Economics and Management, and also ND in Public Administration Planning to go back for my HND next year. But how to get a job to raise some funds to further my education is a big deal. Thus, I'm a comedian and MC. I also act too, but it seems the country is just somehow.
Yes, MC Funkiest. You have a very funky name, and you are the leader of the funky people by being the funkiest. It means you are equally developing yourself even beyond what you have studied. Your OND and your AND, none of them talks about entertainment, but you're already there and you are doing well.
Yeah.
One thing you must do is that what you're doing is an interesting thing. Continue to get encouraged. Don't allow anybody to, discourage you from doing what you're doing. And I believe that with time, you would also get to where you desire to be. Don't just see yourself as, okay, you don't have the wherewithal. It is about today. You don't know what tomorrow brings. God could raise people around you to also help you continue to further your education. But for now, if you haven't got the wherewithal to do that, remain focused on what you're doing. And I believe you are going to have all you need to achieve your life desires.
All right, 0751493324. Now, comrade, what has MUJ done to ensure its members are trained in PWD inclusive reporting throughout the election period?
Well, I told you something about taking part in a particular forum put together by Albino Foundation and with support from other European Union actually, and I was there. We are also reaching out to get the necessary enablement, because it's not something that you just start doing. Once you get the necessary support from some of these organizations, partners, and all that, we have forums, fora where we, train our people, and all that. As we speak, we have a training program that's going, across the country. It's going on across the country, and we've been to about 7 states, and we are still going on with it. This one has to do with capacity building on sensitive reporting, and of course how to counter fake news and all that. So preparing our colleagues for the 2023 elections, because we understand that the media is a strategic stakeholder in the delivery of a credible election. So we needed to fully prepare our people across the states so that they will come to terms with the new technologies that have been introduced by the election management body. And of course we know that this is a political time, a season of politics. Politicians churn out all manner of things, statistics, words, and all that. We are also preparing our colleagues to appreciate how to easily fact check stories that come your way, so that you don't become a purveyor of fake news. So that's what we're doing. And we also have plans to further prepare ourselves, to our colleagues, to appreciate people living, people with disabilities. They are also unique in their own ways. So it is necessary that, because there are terms that are associated with PWDs.
Yes.
Most times when the journalist is writing, you may not really appreciate those terms, and it will seem like you are not, you don't understand what it's all about. So we're also creating forum where journalists can be, trained along that line. Today I'm talking about PWDs and all that in this program.
Now, do we even have enough, like, is the time enough to actually achieve this in terms of voter education as it concerns persons with, disability?
Voter education is a continuous thing.
Okay.
It's not, it should not just be limited or restricted to the 2023 election. It's a continuous activity. You understand? We must continue to educate ourselves, educate the populace, educate the electorate. And when you talk about the electorate, people with disabilities are also part of the electorate. So they also deserve to be prepared, educated, informed about what is required of them in the electoral process, in deepening democratic governance, and what have you. It is also necessary we prepare the minds of authorities, assuming we are done with the election, those that form cabinet members at the federal and the state. You should equally consider people with disabilities.
Yes.
They equally have a whole lot to contribute to building a saner climate for all of us to live in. So you don't just treat them with wave of hand. What can they do? You have so many of them that are highly talented. They've got a whole lot to offer the country, and we have to get them to be involved in governance. By the time you get people, maybe one at the federal, you have at the state, implementing the Disability Act becomes a lot easier.
Okay, I actually want to project or anticipate a dream I think I've been having for quite some time now. And this program, Disability Inclusion, has been for like 3 years, has been on for 3 years. I want to sincerely appreciate, the European Union and also the Albino Foundation, in being consistent in achieving disability inclusion in Nigeria. But we do not just want it to be limited to, Radio Nigeria broadcast houses. Is it possible, as the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, is it possible that in every media house at every state, is it possible to have at least one program where we talk about persons with disability or disability inclusion?
It's very, very easy.
Okay.
Dreams die when they are not shared.
Okay.
When you don't bring them forth, you must give birth to them before they begin to manifest. Otherwise, they remain dreams. What you said is something that is workable. And for us in the AUJ, we are also open to such partnerships, collaborations. And like you said, we have presence across the 36 states and the FCT. And it's very easy. It's just for us to, maybe it's not something we begin to discuss on air. We see how we can make that to work, cross the T's, dot the I's, and bring them to fruition.
Okay, that's interesting. 0915 091 0482 or 0705 149 3324. In case you're just tuning in, we are talking about persons with disability inclusive election, the role of Nigerian journalists, and we have the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ. His name is Comrade Chris Isiguzo as our guest for today's program. 0705 149 3324 or 0915 04 82. Well, the program is still Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Now, we want to tell you about the 2018 Disability Act, the right to free, inclusive, and appropriate education and liberty for persons with disability is guaranteed under the Act. So these rights, contemplate inter alia that such persons are prohibited from being deployed for collection of arms, free education to the secondary school level, provision of educational assistive devices, incorporation of Braille, sign language, and other skills in the curriculum of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, and subsidized education for special education personnel. Yes, that's it about the 2018 Disability Act. And we just want to let you know that our star of the week is
Ojugo Irene Patrick Omogu.
all right. Good evening.
Good evening, Jennifer. How are you?
Fine, thank you so much.
Our star of the week is Irene Ojugo Patrick Omogu. Struck by polio at 3 and confined to a wheelchair at 36 after suffering post-polio syndrome. The Anambra State-born woman has not allowed that to slow her pace in life. Instead, she has used her disability to fire herself to greatness, surmounting challenges at every point along the way. Raised in the northern city of Kano, hundreds of kilometers away from her native land, the 41-year-old has exhibited excellence in all the places her feet had trodden. As a primary and secondary school pupil in the ancient town, her exploits in academics set her apart from many of her peers. Irene Onjugo Patrick Obogo is the executive director of the Disability Rights Advocacy Center, DRAC. What is your excuse for giving up? Be inspired. Say no to defeat.
All right, say no to defeat. You have no excuse to any form of defeat. This one is coming in from Kelly Clarkson.
Are we there?
I cut you off. I didn't want you to.
Okay, no.
I didn't want you
It's
to.
fine. It's fine.
This is our
Table.
Debo Aderiola. Please, I want you to emphasize that he's the engineer on duty because the other guy is like
Let me.
he ran away. I can't see him. Debo Aderiola.
The other one is
Forget about. Don't put his name.
Ali Ubawa.
Ali, yes, Ali Ubawa is our today manager. Leave out the other guy that has gone out. Remember, this is Kelly Clarkson. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
even reminding you. You heard the music yourself.
So I'm leaving the music part for Mr. Steve. He doesn't trust my taste in music.
I know the one that chose this one.
No.
Eh.
He doesn't trust me.
All right, Kelly Clarkson. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. Our mind is the greatest weapon if only you know how to use it. The program is Disability Inclusion of Network Service of Radio Nigeria, and we are talking about the role of journalists in inclusive election as it concerns persons with disabilities. We have the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists, Comrade Chris Isiguzo, still with us on our program, all right, disability inclusion. We just have less than 10 minutes to call this a wrap. 07051 149 3324 0915 If you're watching us live on our social media handles, kindly drop a comment and we'll read it before the end of the program. Now, sir, discrimination is something that is not good for any human being, whether you have any form of disability or not. It can, go as far as affecting your mental health. Now, how can journalists across the country work together to reduce or combat discrimination, towards persons with disabilities?
Well, by what we've taken our time to discuss in the last 45, 50 minutes, I think it clearly shows that anybody who still thinks of discriminating against those living with disabilities still live in the Stone Age. We have gone far beyond that. Now, everybody, irrespective of who you are, whether you have any form of disability or the other, you don't have, you should be allowed free expression. You should be allowed to freely express yourself. So anybody thinking of such discrimination, I've given you stories about somebody from Sokoto and somebody, of course, from Kogi. We have so many of such stories that we have encouraged. We didn't engage in any form of discrimination. And I want to also use this opportunity to appeal to journalists, to media professionals, not to discriminate against those that live with disabilities. It's not good. Anybody that does that is indeed perpetrating what I consider as an inhuman act. And I know that the Disability Act has taken care of that. And any form of discrimination, I believe that law has made provision for the appropriate way to deal with such people who discriminate against people with disabilities. It's not the right thing to do. If you know your left and you know your right, then do the right thing. Don't encourage any form of discrimination, even if it is at home, if it is at the workplace, the marketplace, in the school. We shouldn't discriminate against anybody. If somebody that has got any form of disability or the other comes for employment, you should not, because of his disability, deny him of such opportunity when he has the capacity, he has the mental ability to deliver, when he can do that job just like any other person. You should not discriminate against such person. It's not the best thing to do. We will not identify with it, and will continue to speak out against any form of discrimination against those that live or those that are with disabilities.
Okay, now what's the benefit of incorporating social media? I know you mentioned that earlier, as a tool for disability.
Well, it's that is the in thing.
Yes.
You cannot do without it anymore. We live practically our lives on social media. If you take a census, one day drive through the road and watch people who, passers by, they are not driving and they are moving, and watch them closely. I can tell you that an appreciable percentage of pedestrians, are looking at their phones.
Yes.
They are not looking at calls. They are actually looking at their Facebook, or they are looking at their Twitter, or they are on their Instagram account, or they are on LinkedIn, or they are on, WeChat. So they are on social media. So many people world over. It's not peculiar to Nigerians. So there's no way you are going to ignore the impact that social media is making on our national life. You cannot ignore it. So we must have to take advantage of the opportunities provided by social media. Social media is not just about fake news. Social media is not just about inculcating
A
or,
trend.
fear
Mm.
or creating anarchy.
Mhm.
Social media also has got its positive sides.
Now, how can persons with disability tap into this? Because if you're saying something and you're not acting or your actions does not follow what you're saying, I mean, who are you? So, what's the role of a person with disability? Now, what message should they be passing across? Message should they be passing across to the public, and how can they use, the social media to pass across the right message about disability?
Today, we have just said that there are many people that are with disability that have got
Yes.
that are doing very well.
Yes.
If you go to Twitter now and write Cobans, all right, that's his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he appears.
Mm.
You will know everything about him.
Mm.
You want to listen to his music, you can benefit from that. Is it not true?
Yes.
He's excelling on social media, just like any other person can do that. He has not abandoned social media and said, I have to have made my name and all that, I can be there. No. So you can also send your message, what you do.
Yes.
What is important is that it's about self-development.
Yes.
You
No
don't just
self-pity.
you don't just embark on self-pity.
Yeah.
Develop yourself.
Mm.
You understand? It's because you are visually impaired, you say, oh, my life has come to an end. No, that is not true. Find a way to develop yourself. And you can see that the world will be running after you.
Of
That's
course.
the way it is.
And I also want to, say that, as a person with disability and you actually want to sell yourself, so you shouldn't be selling yourself because you want to gain pity.
No.
You want to promote charity from
Stand
the
out.
public. Yes. Stand out. I think
Stand
that's
out.
the word.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. You really said a lot. I wish we can continue. I have more questions. I have more questions for you. Thank you so much. So far, you've been listening to Comrade Chris Isiguzo, the president of Nigerian Union of Journalists, and he's been talking to us about persons with disabilities and an inclusive election, the role of the Nigerian journalists. To you who called, thank you so much across the nation. Our caller from Bauchi State, we sincerely appreciate you. Those who sent in their message, we sincerely want to thank you. This program comes up every Saturday, 1 to 7 p.m. You know what to do. Join us on our social media handles, or you can just, tune your radio to Radio Nigeria and listen to us, because we come up with exciting informative, messages, and of course, interesting issues as it concerns persons with disabilities. So for more information on the activities of the Albedo Foundation, visit our website at www.albinofoundation.org or send a message to 0703 110 3773 or 0701 977 335. We sincerely want to appreciate the engineer on duty, Debo Ademola, and the studio manager has been Ali Bauer. This program is powered by the European Union and the Albino Foundation. Special thanks to the producer, Steven Isabu. Until next time, my name is Jennifer Owo, urging you to have a splendid weekend. Bye for now.